LLCs are very interesting because you can be taxed in multiple ways. So if you are a single member LLC, that means there's only one person within the LLC. Oftentimes the IRS is going to classify you as a disregarded entity, which is a fancy way of saying they're going to treat you like a sole proprietorship. They're going to tax you on everything that comes in as if you didn't have that LLC. So you're still going to have that liability protection as long as you do all of the other stuff we've talked about, but you're going to be taxed as if there was no other entity, just everything on your personal taxes. That's one. The other option is that you can be taxed as an S corporation. An S corporation typically has what we call pass-through taxation. So that everything that comes in, you're only taxed when the funds actually come to you, as opposed to how C corporations are taxed. And if you've ever heard the term double taxation, it's typically referring to a C corporation, at which point the corporation gets taxed when the funds come into the corporation, and then they get taxed again when it actually gets distributed to the shareholders. So there's 2 layers of taxes then. So those are sort of the 3 different ways that you could be taxed as an LLC, either as that disregarded entity where everything just flows through pretending like there's no entity at all, or as an S corporation where it does come through the business, but it doesn't get taxed at the business level, just when it comes down to you. And then that 3rd way, which is the double taxation, getting taxed once at the corporate level, and then once again, once it actually comes to the shareholders. Now, everyone automatically assumes that double taxation is bad, or that you automatically want to be taxed as the disregarded entity. That's not necessarily the case. Every business is different. There are multiple reasons for why one would be better than the other for your particular business. And this is one of those areas that I do recommend speaking to a really good CPA about. Attorneys will know about it, but will be able to advise you, but really your personal CPA knows your business the best, and they'll be able to advise you on the best way to protect as much money as you possibly can. So we've talked about LLCs, we've talked about the advantages, we've talked about how you get that protection, we've talked about ways that you lose that protection, we've talked about a whole lot. But we haven't talked yet about how do you actually start an LLC. I can tell you how you should not start an LLC, and that's by going online and using one of these document preparation services. We know which ones they are. I'm not going to call them out by name. They're advertising all of the time, and if you notice at the bottom, at the very end, in the fine print, that always says that these are not actually prepared by lawyers and that you should consult a lawyer to make sure things are done right. There's a reason for that. I cannot tell you how many times clients come into my office with a beautiful binder with paperwork, thinking that everything is complete, everything is set, they just want me to review it, and we find out that it's a disaster because nothing was actually done. These online preparation services, literally all they do is they fill out a couple of forms with the state, and then they print out some sample documents for you and some sample meetings that are not tailored for your business, that don't actually say anything, and they send it in this big, beautiful, shiny binder, and giving you this false sense of security that everything is the way that it should be. It's not. There's definitely do-it-yourself ways. I do not recommend those. If you are starting an LLC, you're doing it because you've got this great idea, because you have this business, you have this passion, you have this reason, maybe it's your family, maybe whatever it is, but you're doing it because you're putting your heart into it. You deserve to do it right from the beginning, and you deserve to have a real person cheering you on, supporting you, being there for you from the beginning. So it's really best to find a good business attorney who's going to be there to help you and to guide you from the beginning. In terms of the practicality of what you need, there are state forms that need to be filled out. They're typically, once you incorporate, so for here in California, setting up an LLC, you have to file what's called Articles of Organization with the state of California, this is the Secretary of State. Once you get that back, within 90 days, you have to submit a statement of information, actually telling the Secretary of State who the officers are, who the directors are, what the purpose of the business is, what the address is, basically giving them the cheat sheet on who the important players are. Then after that, you need to get an EIN number, which is sort of like a social security number for your LLC, which you get from the IRS. And then from that, there's a whole bunch of other steps that you need to take. If you want to be classified as an S corporation for taxation, there's different forms that you need to fill out. There's a whole host of things you need to do. You also need to prepare an operating agreement. I like to think of that as like the constitution for your business. That's sort of the rules and how things are going to operate. You don't have to, but I do recommend having an organizational meeting and sort of documenting that. Once, perhaps you need to do a fictitious business name license, depending on your business and what the situation is. You're going to have to open up bank accounts. You're going to have to do all of that typical stuff. If you're going to have employees, you're going to have to get the workers' compensation insurance, all of the other insurances that we talked about, get them on payroll, all of that. So there's a lot that goes into setting up an LLC. That's why having a trusted advisor is going to be the greatest investment you can make when you're setting up that business, because there's just so much that goes into it. By contrast, ending an LLC is actually pretty simple. There's one of two forms that you can fill out with the Secretary of State's website. It's very easy to get the forms off of the Secretary of State's website, and depending on how many members there are of your LLC, it's one or the other form. There's not even a fee that's involved with it. You just fill it out. You have to document that all of the members are on board, or the percentage of the members are on board. You go that and send it in, and then you can start actually dissolving the LLC, closing the bank accounts, shutting off the insurances, closing out those contracts, so on and so forth. So there's a lot involved with setting up your LLC, not so much with taking it down. Taking it down is way easier thing to do, but hopefully that's going to be something that's many, many, many years down the line for you in the future when you're just done with everything. If you have any questions, if you need help setting up your LLC, please feel free to reach out to me. My name is Pantea Fizuni. My information should be on the screen, and I look forward to talking to you and seeing how I can help you start and grow your LLC.